Hello everyone, I'm back with the 22-inch cardigan, and I've used 3.25mm needles for the rib, and I've cast on 33 stitches, and I've knit 10 rows in twisted rib, and then I've knit the 6 rows in 4mm needles. So the 4mm needles, I've knit the 6 rows, and I increased on the 5th row. And when you do the increase on with this pattern, you want your increase as close to the edge as possible. So I increased on the first stitch and the last stitch. Well, it was the second last stitch, but it comes at the same place as the first stitch. And because if you have to drop the 4 stitches down and pick up the 5th stitch, if you have to drop it down on an increased stitch, that stitch won't drop down because you've increased there. So you work that out as you go along on the pattern. So I have to check where I have to start with on this pattern. We're going to start the first row of the drop 5 below. So we're going to knit three stitches, 1, 2, 3, and drop the next stitch, 1, 2, 3, 4. Get rid of the hairs in between. Pick up the 5th stitch down underneath the other stitches, knit them all together. 1, 2, 3, and then drop that next stitch down again. 1, 2, 3. Getting a lot of hair sticking here. 3. Pick up the 5th stitch underneath the other 4. Pick all 5 up together. And knit 3. 1, 2, 3. I'll carry on across that row until I meet you at the end. And I'm at the last 4 stitches, so I'm going to drop that stitch down. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pick up the 5th stitch under all 4 stitches, knit 5 together, and then knit the last 3 stitches. And now I'm going to knit 5 rows of stocking stitch, and I'll be back to show where you start the next part of the berry. So we've knit the 5 rows, and we're on to the 6th row, the start of the new pattern. We're also going to increase on this row because we're increasing on every 8th row. So you'll knit into the first stitch and knit into the back of that stitch to increase, because you're keeping your increases as close to the edge as you can possibly do it. The next stitch is a drop 5 below, so you're going to drop that stitch 1, 2, 3, 4. Pick the 5th stitch up and then knit all 5 together. 1, 2, 3. Drop the next stitch down. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pick that 5th stitch up and knit that stitch and the other 4 all together. Knit 3, 1, 2, 3. And now we'll meet you at the end of that row. And we're on to the last few stitches. So I'm going to knit 1, 2, 3. Drop that last stitch down. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a lot of hair sticking again. And you can't increase on that last stitch because that was the stitch you've dropped down. So take the bar between the 2 stitches, put it on the needle, and knit into the back of it. And that's how you increase on that part. And then I'm going to knit another 5 rows and carry on with the first row of the pattern, but it'll be different every time because you'll have to work out where you're putting the with the extra stitches, where you're putting the berry. So you just look for that center stitch and work to wherever there's a center stitch there. There'll be 1, 2, 3, so you would pick that one up there, or drop it down there and then knit 2. You would knit 2, but you're increasing on every 8th row until you have 45 stitches, and then on every 10th row until you have 49 stitches. So I will be back when I get that far. So I have now knitted until it measures 9 inches, the sleeve, and I have increased until there was 49 stitches, and now I'm going to cast off the stitches. I've left the last 2 rows of the rows after they're doing the bubble to cast the stitches off. So I'm going to cast off 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to knit across that row to the other side. And now I'm going to cast off 3 stitches on the purl side. It's 1, 2, 3, and then purl across that row. So that's 3 stitches cast off on each end, and now I'm going to knit 2 rows before I decrease, and this row will be the row where I have to put the drop the stitches down. So I'm going to knit the first 2 stitches. That'll be where the decreasing will be on the rows when I do it, and the next bubble is here, so I'm following that center stitch up to the needle there, so I have to knit 3 stitches before I drop down. So I drop that stitch down now. 1, 2, 3, 4, that's I've knit the 5 below, knit 3, drop the stitch down 5 below again, 1, 2, 3, 4, and pick up the 5th stitch, knit them all together, and now I'll meet you at the end of that row. And I'm now at the last 5 stitches. I've just dropped that one down for the 5 below, and I'm going to knit 1, 2, 3, and the last 2 stitches are where the decreasing will be, so I'm keeping those knitting. And the next row is just purl all the way across. So that is casting off the 3 stitches each side, and then knitting 2 more rows, and now I'm going to start the decreasing. I'm going to knit 1, slip one stitch, knit one stitch, pass that slip stitch over, knit to the last 3 stitches. At my last 3 stitches, I'm going to knit 2 together, knit 1, and that's how the decreasing goes. And I'm going to decrease on the next 4th row 3 times, and then after that it will be on every alternate row until there are 9 stitches left, and I will come back then. So now we have done the decreasing on every 4th row. We cast the stitches off on both sides, and then knit 2 more rows, and then decreased on that row, and then knit another 4 rows and decreased again, knit another 4 rows, decreased again, another 4 rows and decreased there. So that's 4 times all together. And now I'm going to decrease on this row, which is the alternate row. This is the 2nd row from the last decreasing, and then decrease on every alternate row until we have 9 stitches left. That's knit 1, slip 1, knit 1, pass slip stitch over, knit to the end to the last 3 stitches, knit 2 together, and then knit 1. So that's the sleeve finished up to the 9 stitches, and I've put those 9 stitches onto a safety pin. And the next part will be doing the bands, because I'm putting a collar on this cardigan, so you have to do the bands first. So give a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll catch up with you when I do the rest.